Welcome to Running Down the Clock, where we break down all of this week's big news, events, and controversies from the National Football League. Over the next 45 minutes, we will give you basic fan perspective and opinion on the most important stories and moments happening now. So, let's start the clock. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Running Down the Clock. I am Tyler Walczak. I am here with Puya Raisi. Puya, you are still in Brazil, correct?
I'm still here. I'll be back for next week's podcast, and I'll actually be there to watch the Lions game with you this weekend. Perfectly.
I'm actually, I will be alone all weekend for this one. Even Dylan will not be here. She's being extradited from the house. Is that right? Is that the right word?
Sure. Extradited, kicked out, removed.
It'll just be me and my Lions gear. And
me, together.
Yeah. Of course.
Sorry, but you're banishing her for the game is what's happening.
No, she's going to Whistler to take advantage of some. I think they've got some skiing up there right now. You left at a good time. It's nothing but rainy.
Yeah, it's not a skiing podcast. I've never skied in my life. This is not a skiing podcast. We don't need to get into that.
No, but anyways, she'll be gone. I actually think she's pretty upset about it because I have turned her into.
She's into it.
Lions
she's
fan.
into
she's very much into it. Very much into it, and I don't know if I'm okay with her choosing the Lions. I mean, we were talking about this yesterday. With her specifically, we started. Anyone doesn't know, we started dating last year, or 2022 in November, December. Now she got to witness like kind of the turnaround of the bad Lions, and then when they started winning, they missed the playoffs. But then this year, she got to actually understand the plight of the Detroit Lions fan. So she's kind of. It would have been a bad year if all of a sudden we started dating and the Lions were good. She wouldn't be able to understand why it's so important. But now she's fully tucked in the corner of the couch. Like she was actually more nervous yesterday than I think that I was.
How about this is poetic justice? She misses this weekend. Lions win. Lions going to the Super Bowl. Lions win the Super Bowl. She misses that, but she becomes a remaining lifelong Lions fan, but she never got to witness the glory. So they don't win in her lifetime again, and she missed out on the win.
I mean, I'd like to think this would test our relationship, actually. I'd like to think that if the Lions made it to that game, that final championship game that they call the Super Bowl, if that ever happened, I'd like to think she'd cancel whatever she had going on.
I would think if she was a Lions fan, she would have canceled this weekend. That's my question.
Well, she has been thinking about how to get out of this Whistler thing, or at least delay it a couple days. But I don't know how she's going to do that. And she doesn't know how she's going to do that.
She's not going to watch. She's going to watch alone. She's going to separate from her friends, whatever they're doing, skiing. I don't know, skiing and spas and pillow fights. I don't know what girls do on weekend trips, but she's going to separate from them and go watch a Detroit Lions game.
I'm assuming that if she did, they'd be at a bar somewhere and the game would be on there. If she could time being at the bar, it's going to be a 3:30 game. So, I mean, if they get a full day of skiing in on Sunday morning, then you could technically be at a bar watching the game at 3:30.
They're in Whistler?
They're in Whistler, yeah.
Yeah, so Whistler is apparently a world-renowned ski resort, but I think it closes at like 3, the mountain.
That's what I mean, is like your last run has to be well before it's dark, so you be down by 3, especially if you're up there at 10. 5 hours on the mountain, that's a good enough time. Yeah. So I have faith that maybe she'll find it somewhere on, like, it's going to be on TV everywhere.
You know, I'm going to text her and ask her questions about the game and see if she watched.
Well, I wouldn't do that on the same day, because what if she records it and watches it later?
At the bar. She's going to record it at the bar.
No, if she records it at wherever she's staying.
Simple, easy fix. I just preface it. Hey, did you watch the game?
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to text her at all. It would be what I'm getting at.
Well, I like to play the bully role.
I know you do. I know you do. I'm trying to prevent that. Okay, this was nonsense. Let's talk about the Lions game against the Bucs.
Start with the Lions. Okay.
Yes, because there's something that came out today. We are recording this on Monday. I don't know if you noticed this. You said you were watching this game?
I was watching this game. I had to
So
rush home from the middle of the Amazon jungle, like as deep as I've ever been,
where there's no
and got home
animals.
just in time. I have not seen an animal except for the pink dolphin, which I don't know if we recorded
I
earlier,
think we recorded
but
that. I think we got all that stuff. Yeah. I think we got all that.
yeah. So okay,
The um
but I saw the game. I saw the game.
okay, so did you notice at the end of the game that the Lions mismanaged the clock when they were doing their victory formations?
No, because I assumed it was already a win, and I kind of
That's
stopped the.
everybody did. So this is what I'm glad that you don't know what's happening because you might have a strong opinion on this. So the Lions got the ball back with an interception with 2 minutes left in the game. They could have kneeled it out and like they did kneel it out and win the game. But however, nobody really noticed this in the stadium until well after the game. I saw this on social media. The Bucks had a timeout left. Now, Jared Goff didn't wait the whole 40 seconds until he ran the next kneel or the next victory formation play. So if it was 3rd and 12 on the last kneel down, the Bucks could have called a timeout and gotten the ball back with like 15 seconds. But the coach on the Buccaneers
Right.
chose not to do that.
I saw that. I saw that. He even said, well, we weren't going to win at that point because they needed more than a touchdown.
Now, as a Buccaneers fan, wouldn't you? Well, they didn't need more than a touchdown. They just needed a touchdown and an extra point or 2 point conversion. So he,
Yeah.
in his mind, in the interview after was, well, the Lions would have just kicked a field goal, and then we would have needed two scoring drives,
Right.
unless the Lions missed that field goal, and then you get the ball at the 40-yard line.
What where how long of a field goal would it have been?
It would have been a 45, 49-yard field goal, something like that.
Right. So yes, I guess the Lions mismanaged the clock, but wouldn't you just say that Tampa Bay mismanaged it worse?
No, but that's what I'm saying is the Lions mismanaged the clock, but nobody
Yeah.
knew. It didn't end up backfiring on them. What I'm saying is, as the coach of the Buccaneers, how the hell do you not call a timeout and try to get the ball back and try to win the game again?
Yeah, they had already lost for the
But they
script
didn't
is
already
in.
lose. What are you
They,
talking about? How I don't
they
think
weren't
you're
allowed. No, no, I'm
understanding.
saying no. I'm saying I'm understanding that the game technically wasn't over. There was opportunity for them to get the ball back with 15 seconds and take a shot at trying to win the game or tie
Yes.
the game. I
So
get that.
what you don't you're just like, oh well, game was over. What is your thoughts on this? You have zero thoughts on this. We are supposed to be a podcast where we're talking about our thoughts on this, and you seem to have nothing.
I have thoughts on this. What I'm saying is the coach already thought the game was over because of how he could have managed the clock. However, he kind of turned his brain off thinking, well, this game's over, not realizing what had happened.
So isn't that a fireable offense?
That's what I think.
Isn't that a fireable
Potentially, yeah,
offense? If
for
you're a
sure.
Buccaneers fan, aren't you pissed? Aren't you being like, wait, we could have still won this game and our coach
The only
mismanaged the
reason why
clock?
it wouldn't be, the only reason why I think it could have not been a fireable offense is that every single fan, every other person in management, they might have thought the same thing.
Sure, but
Nobody
that's
knows.
it's your
Did
job. It's your
anybody tell the
job.
coach, hey, use your timeout, use your timeout, use your timeout, use the timeout, use the timeout? It is
Why
his
would
job.
someone have to tell the coach that? That's the coach's job. Is that not the coach's job to be responsible for that? He's saying
100%.
at the end of the
It's a
game, oh,
fuck
I
up.
gave
I
up.
agree
I
with you.
gave up on
It's a
my
fuck
team.
up.
I gave up. I don't like how is that not problematic? Couldn't you block the field goal that
It
the
is.
Lions
It's
would kick and
100%
then run it
problematic.
back and then there's your touchdown and you can have a 2 points conversion to try to tie the game and go to overtime? There's a million ways they still could have won. Now, I'm not saying that like I'm unhappy or whatever. I'm very ecstatic that the Lions won, but as a like if you are a Buccaneers fan, if we put our mindsets in a buck as a Buccaneers fan, would you not be so angry that you didn't even give your guys a chance?
Yeah, I agree with you. The only thing is, I think they also didn't realize it, and it's easier to accept when nobody was aware of this, rather than if the fans were all at home or in the stadium or wherever, all screaming at their TV, screaming at the play, like "You idiot! Use the timeout! Use the timeout!" I think this went so unnoticed by so many people that it's almost easier to forgive than another blunder play where I'm not saying you should forgive. It is the coach's job. You're right. He should be on top of it. But I think it's a little easier to forgive when nobody spotted it until after the game.
Sure, but so if you're
Because
the
you, as the
owner of the
coach, you
Tampa Bay
got people up
Buccaneers,
in the press box. You got people up above giving you pointers, giving you tips, whispering in your ear, no?
sure, but so
And you think he just ignored them?
if you're the owner of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, are you okay with them giving up?
No, no.
So
Me?
so
No, never.
would you fire the coach?
So this goes back to an argument we had the other week with the Falcons. I'm never give up.
That's what I mean.
You were okay with the victory
It sounds like
formation.
right now you're the one that's
But
giving up, and that I'm actually
no,
thinking
no,
it's kind
I'm
of weird.
taking the same. I'm taking the same stance. I'm taking the same stance.
It
The
doesn't sound like
defense
you
is the
are.
one that can give up. Sure, you're done with the game. No, if you're done with the game, you're done with the game. My whole point with the Arthur Smith thing was he was choked because the other team didn't give up like
Sure, I don't understand
it
how that
seemed that they
computes
were
to
going
this
to.
conversation. I don't understand how that meant like I don't understand how that's comparable at all. Your coach gave up with time on the clock to win a playoff game. And you seem to be very calm about this,
Yeah,
which is weird to me.
because I didn't want their team to win. Also, he didn't freak out at anybody afterwards. He
Do you think
admitted.
I would want the Buccaneers team to win? No, I'm saying that as a fan of the Bucks or the owner of the Buccaneers, that is an unacceptable mistake.
Sure. I accept that. I accept that. As a fan or the owner, I accept that you can hold what's his name, Bowles accountable for that error.
Sure, but would you not? So
And if you fire
he
him,
would
I
still be your
understand you
coach.
fired him. I don't know if it's worth firing the guy. I don't know if it's worth firing him, but
I'm
I
just like,
understand it. It is a fireable offense, maybe punishable, maybe not fireable. It's a punishable offense of some kind. Yes, I
so you
agree.
wouldn't fire him. You're the owner. You wouldn't fire him. You would just punish him somehow.
I don't know. You got to see who else you can get. Maybe
You
you
can
do
get
look
Bill
at interviewing
Belichick.
other coaches. Yeah, if you can. It
You're
worked for the
so
last
not.
Patriots you got. It worked for the last Patriots you got for in Tampa Bay. You got a title out of it. You can bring another guy in.
We're moving on. I thought you'd get more heated about this. You gave me nothing. You gave me nothing to work with on this topic. You have been an awesome letdown on the Todd Bowles subject
It's
today.
because nobody noticed it. Who noticed it? Did you notice it during the game? Did you notice it during the game?
No, because I was jumping up and down celebrating.
Exactly. Nobody
It makes
noticed
me
it because
worried. It makes me
everybody gave up.
it makes me very worried as a Lions fan that they got away with it. Thank God that Tampa didn't get the ball back, or the worst thing could have happened. But the fact that they were kind of antsy in that moment and they made that little mistake, like that can't happen again. As a Lions fan, like
No,
that's
no.
very like that could have been a very
But they're very
bad
fortunate
mistake.
it happened in that situation where they learned from it in when it didn't matter, when it didn't cost them anything, they
Agreed.
can learn from it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Because we got a big game against San Francisco coming up. Um, the team that I think is probably the favorites to win the Super Bowl right now is between Baltimore and San Francisco. I know that. Um,
Well, it's definitely the Chiefs. If you've watched any conspiracies that we've had throughout the entire season, the Chiefs are definitely the favorite to win.
yeah, yeah,
Do
yeah,
you think so? So one thing I've learned is Taylor Swift's songs are all about breakups.
yes, apparently. But the Taylor Swifties will say that you're a misogynistic
Well, I
person
don't
if
know.
you believe that.
Well, that's for a different podcast. Um, what happened? Eventually we're going to see the breakup of Taylor Swift in the NFL.
Well, here's the thing that I
It,
actually think that Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift might just make it. And I'm only saying that because it seems like this is the
it's not
first
even them. I'm just saying the
athlete to
NFL
get it.
and Taylor Swift
Well, why would they go on a breakup?
because the NFL fans get tired of seeing her every week, and so they
I think they're
stop
already
featuring her.
tired
They
of her.
stop caring.
I think
Oh,
they're
but
already tired of her.
they are, but the NFL hasn't stopped showing her every chance they get,
Yeah,
posting her every chance they get.
I know it's very frustrating. It was nice to have
Eventually, they could
Jason
have a
Kelsey.
breakup.
It was nice to have Jason Kelsey take away some of that attention on Sunday when he was just drinking beers and with his shirt off, jumping into stands. Uh,
There's not a lot of guys who can do what he did in enemy territory,
yeah,
being the fan favorite
yeah,
while rooting for the other team.
yep. I think it's because he is a player on a team that just lost that people are a little empathetic on just
Well,
him having a good time.
he's got a great reputation. I
Oh
don't
yeah,
think in the exact opposite circumstance where if it was Travis Kelsey in another team stadium, not that he would be hated, but he wouldn't be as well received as
right.
Jason Kelsey. I think Jason Kelsey just has a very good reputation around the league and just in the US in general
Oh, for sure.
that he's just well liked.
Oh, for sure. And I think
Yeah,
their podcast is like does very, very well, and people have kind of gotten to know like who he is on and off the field because he's
for
always
sure.
been a good guy on the field as well. So
Yeah,
but it was nice to see him take some of some of the sting away from the whole Taylor Swift conversation that could have happened all last night that thankfully
yeah.
did not. Um,
Um, so I got a couple things let me ask you about that Lions game.
go.
It pretty much went as the way you expected. I
Yes,
don't
I knew it
think
was
I
going to be
expected anything going differently than that.
I knew it was going to be a close game. I knew that the Buccaneers defense matched up well against the Lions offense because the Buccaneers defense is very good at stopping the run up the middle, and that's what we do best. David Montgomery was kind of very much slowed down that game, but I mean, Gibbs broke one off like a 30 yard, 40-yard scamper that went for a touchdown, which was a huge part of the game, obviously. But they were the Detroit Lions offense works on the starting off with the run game and then play action pass off of it in the second half. But because the run game was kind of shut down, the play action pass wasn't going to work as well. So I kind of knew that was going to happen. I knew it was going to be a close game. I knew Baker was going to do some cool Baker things that he did, and he did have some moments like that. I'm very surprised that Mike Evans started off slow. Thankfully, he did because he dropped a couple balls across the middle. Both teams in this game dropped balls across the middle, and it looked like they just didn't want to get hit. Um, like Saint Brown dropped one in the middle where he definitely would have got lit up if he caught the ball. And same with Mike Evans, he dropped one where he also would have got hit real hard
Yeah,
coming across the
I know
middle.
that play. You could see St. Brown kind of
Yeah,
step away after knowing that that hit was coming, and it was definitely in his head.
1,000%. And I think that's going to be. I think you're going to see that a lot more, especially next year too, because guys, you don't want to like that. They call it the hospital pass for a reason. So, but no, that the game definitely went the way I thought it was going to go. It was very nervous, energy
So I,
going on.
I, I got a question for you about that. What's his name? White. His first name I forget, but running back for Tampa Bay.
Rashad White.
Yeah, he
Mm.
was tearing him up in the middle.
Hmm.
Does
He was
that
very
become a
good.
bigger concern? Well, does that become a bigger concern with somebody like maybe Christian McCaffrey next week, who's even better at that?
Well, I'm definitely worried about Christian McCaffrey next week. He's probably the one guy that this whole game is going to be built around. If you can stop Christian McCaffrey, then you leave the game in the hands of Brock Purdy, and Brock Purdy did not look good on Saturday. I didn't get to watch much of that game. I was working, but the highlights I saw and what people are saying is that Brock Purdy did not look great that game. It was raining and blah 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 and all that, and like obviously weather has a factor, but it's supposed to be a nice sunny day on
It,
Sunday in San Francisco. But if you can stop Christian McCaffrey, because you have to, that's what it's going to come down to. If we can stop Christian McCaffrey, then we have a better chance of winning that game because you're not afraid of Brock Purdy. I don't think anyone's afraid of Brock Purdy, but you're definitely terrified of Christian McCaffrey, offensive player of the year candidate.
yeah, and that was kind of my concern watching White just kind of tear through. He, would get stopped, right? Like he didn't kill them, but he was picking up chunks at the time. He was tough to
Oh
take
yeah,
down, and I think McCaffrey's even going to be worse. So that's something they definitely got a plan for. This was Brock Purdy's first win without Mr. Samuel. Debo
without
Samuel
Debo
was out.
Samuel, yeah, and
He could
it's
be out again. He's a 50-50 in and out for next for this coming weekend.
yeah. Honestly, I'm of two mindsets. Like obviously having Debo Samuel on the field is going to be harder for the Lions to win, but at the same time, I want every playoff game, every team to be healthy because I want to see the best of the best matchup. And I want to know if we actually are able to keep up with San Francisco. Because if we don't win this weekend, what are we going to do to make sure that we do better next year? And you're never going to
Right,
know that
but
stuff if you don't have the full team against you.
right, but I mean, there's injuries on the Lions. Guys are playing. Their center was playing through injuries, right? Like it's part of the
Yeah.
game, right? You
Yep.
you
100%.
I When have you ever seen a team 100% fully healthy at their best deep in the playoffs? It's just pretty rare.
It is very rare, and you don't
Speaking of
know.
which, you just picked up Zach Ertz. Does that
Yeah,
mean
so I
anything?
don't know. Like Zach Ertz, we picked up because Brock Wright, our backup tight end, got hurt. It doesn't seem like our backup tight end, Brock Wright, is going to play next weekend. Now, when we thought Sam Laporta was going out and not going to be able to play, we didn't pick up Ertz. But I do think that we need Zach Ertz for depth right now, and I do love the pickup. I think we're gonna go with Laporta, obviously, but it's a good insurance to have if Brock Wright, like it seems like he's not gonna go. Um, I just don't know how much is Zach Ertz gonna know the play, like the playbook by Sunday. The tight ends coach of the Lions was the tight ends coach in Arizona, so he knows Zach Ertz pretty well. But I mean, it's a pickup. Yes, I don't think too much of it though. I don't think Zach Ertz is going to be the reason they win or lose on Sunday.
Yeah, it could be just, hey, just block somebody. You know,
That's exactly. It could just be like, hey, we need you out there for as a body. You're just going to stay
yeah,
in and pass protect
block,
and
just
um
block.
yeah. So that again, like it's a nice signing. I don't think it shifts a needle in either way. He's going to be well rested. I know that because he hasn't played a game in like all year. I don't think maybe
Yeah.
like I think
Before we
most
move on from to another team, I kind of noticed this about Coach Campbell. You know, a lot of teams, sorry, a lot of coaches come in and they talk about the culture thing. We want to build a culture. We want to build a culture. I can't think of a better example in a short period of time like this. Obviously, like Belichick made a culture.
hmm
There's a ton of coaches that have made a culture, but in such a short window,
Yeah,
he's actually genuinely done that. And I've kind of got a correlation here. If you're reading the notes, I've never seen a coach cry as much as him.
yeah. He's very emotional in terms of the whole wide range and spectrum of emotions from anger to just like yeah to brought
And
to
I
tears
think,
and
and I think it comes because I genuinely think he cares more about his team than other coaches. Like, you watch things like Hard Knocks and stuff, and you see kind of a little bit, it's not fully, but you see a little bit of the inside thing of like how the coaches treat the players and how they bond with them and stuff. And I think that's why he cries so much. It's either that or the 3,000 milligrams of caffeine he has every morning that
just
just
drink a
kind of
lot of caffeine.
crashes by the end of the day. But other than that,
He and
excuse me.
it's no, you're good. It's he's an ex-player, right? Like he was a tight end for the Lions at one point in his career when they
Oh,
went
0
0
and
and
16 season
16.
too.
Yeah.
I,
So
I, I
like
didn't know until this year he was the 0 and 16 guy.
and I think him with the Lions adds to that emotion. Like you see him crying because he knows what the Detroit Lions means, what the team means to the city of Detroit. He knows that they're the first team to go 0 and 16. He knows that the city has been desperate to win a playoff game. So he knows the downs, like the lowest of lows for Detroit. So for him to come back and be able to put a winning team out there, that has to be more emotional because he's there when it was shitty and he was there when it was like awful, so he can appreciate it a little bit more, and that's probably why he's able to show that emotion, and that's probably why he gets a little bit more emotional. And I'm thinking now at the end of the game, Aiden Hutchinson stood on the sidelines and kind of just spent 2 or 3 minutes just looking at the fans and the atmosphere that was in Detroit because he was also a Lions fan growing up. He's from Michigan. He played for Michigan. Um, he sat in the stands when they went 0 and 16. He sat in the stands during his entire life as a Lions fan, knowing that this team has always sucked. And he is also able to help bring that team back and win a playoff game. And you saw his emotion at the end of the game, too. So I think because both those guys were very much ingrained in Detroit culture, um, and when they're bad, that's why you get to see the emotion come out when they're winning, is because it means a little bit more for them than it would if Dan Campbell was the coach of like Los Angeles or Tennessee or another team where um, it's not quite that story that they were a part of, if that makes sense.
No, but I get it. But I think like for a guy like Campbell, I'm just speculating here. I think he'd find another reason to do the same thing in another team. I think he just genuinely cares more than a lot of other coaches, right? Like there's a lot of coaches. He's also new, like relatively new to coaching. He's not kind of jaded from like just this is the process. This is, you get some of these coaches, it's a system thing for them. Like this is what we do. This is how we're going to do it. And they just go through the same emotions. Whereas
Yeah.
for him, he's relatively new to kind of this head coaching thing. And, he's just fully involved, fully invested, it seems. And that's great. It's,
Yeah. He doesn't know what he doesn't know, essentially. Is
yeah.
that he
Um,
hasn't, yeah. Go ahead.
Do you think they're going to be able to settle down from the emotions to get ready for this next game? Because that's a huge part, right? Like this is
Yeah.
what do you call this? Unfamiliar territory for them,
Yes.
for all their players.
And I think that like I do think that he's also able to do that, where he's able to show emotion, get it all out that one day, have fun Sunday night, and then it's back to work Monday morning. I think he is the perfect coach for that.
I do need to correct myself. I said all the players. Jared Goff has taken the team to the Super Bowl, so I
Yes.
do
And
need to correct
I
myself.
actually think that that is a benefit for this
Oh, for
Lions
sure,
team is that your
for sure.
quarterback, your guy has been there before. So the person you probably look up to the most on your team is like, we have to, like, our quarterback is our most important position. It's our most important player. He's been to the Super Bowl. So he knows like we can trust that he's not. He looked a little nervous, a little shaky at the beginning of the game. I'm not gonna lie, but he settled down. I think they'll settle down. It's also kind of got to be nice to. I mean, like Detroit was amazing. The fans there, the stadium there was awesome. It was rocking. It was huge. But that also has to. You kind of have to be a little bit more nervous. You don't want to screw up in front of your home fans. So now you just get to go on the road and just hopefully beat down that other team and kind of spoil their day. Detroit, this team likes to spoil other people's days. Like when they went and ended Aaron Rodgers' time with the Packers in the last game of last year and put the Packers out of the playoffs. Like this team very much is built to destroy people's days. And I think that is a benefit going into San Francisco, where it's just like all we got to do is travel
Yeah,
on the West Coast, we'll beat the shit out of them, and then move home kind of
but
mentality.
I think they've moved past that. They're not the team to play spoiler anymore. They're one of four, the final four teams remaining, right?
Yeah. They have the worst, but
So
they have the worst odds to win. And in terms of Vegas and the bets, like betting
yeah,
polls, is
I
the
think
Lions are still the
The Chiefs
underdogs
are the
with the
worst
14 left.
team there. The
I agree with that. The problem with the
team.
Chiefs, and it's the Michael Jordan effect, right? The Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes. So as long as they have Patrick Mahomes, they're scary. But overall, I think their team is the worst. Like if you break down
Let's talk
position
about that
wise.
game. Let's talk about that Bills game.
Yeah, because wow. Ah man, it's gotta be tough to be Bills fan right now. Like that just you have to
It's
win that game.
it's always been tough.
You have to win
The
that game
hard
though.
thing about the Bills over the Lions is they give you way more hope. They get you way closer as a Bills fan and just shatter faster. As a Lions fan, you haven't had
But we
hope
had didn't
for
know
so
again as a
long,
Lions fan,
right?
we
Like it's
didn't
almost
know
harder being a Bills fan.
1,000% because the Bills are supposed to do well. The last 4 years, they're supposed to go deep in the playoffs. Like Josh Allen was supposed to be the savior for Buffalo and take them deep in the playoffs, and they just keep getting beat by Kansas City. And you have to think that like this is probably Stephon
He's
Diggs'
calm. He's
last
calm
year.
alone. He's calm alone.
Like
He's
yeah,
calm
it's
alone.
exactly it. Now, did you think
As long as Patrick Mahomes is there, he's the Michael Jordan to his Karl Malone. As long
yeah,
as Patrick Mahomes is there, like that is the hump he's gotta face. Or I'm using this loosely. He's Michael Jordan, and this is the Detroit Pistons, where eventually he'll get over it. I don't think it's time to move on from Josh Allen. I still
no,
think
God
you
no.
stick with him,
Yes.
but
Who would you get that's
he
better?
needs to be better. Well, that's it. I don't think it's time to move on, but he needs to be better. He knows it. Like,
Yeah. I
yeah, the
mean,
kicker cost them the tie, but he could have scored in the fourth half, in the
well,
fourth
that's what you
quarter.
want. You don't want it to come down to a kicker
They didn't score. They
in
didn't
that
score in the
temperature.
fourth.
No, you got to score. You have to score a touchdown in the fourth quarter of that game. Um, Now here's the problem with Buffalo is that Stephon Diggs has been unhappy because this keeps happening to this team, and he's sick of it, and it just happened again. So you have to think that Stephon Diggs won't be back next year. So how do you replace arguably your most talented skill position player on this team when he's unhappy? Like I don't see him coming back
Should he have
next year.
made that catch? Should he have made that catch?
Sure. Like he wasn't perfect either.
I don't
There's no
think
way.
that affects. I don't think that affects his coming and going. Sorry, his staying or leaving. But
The
for that attitude he has, and I like Diggs. I think he is a top talent receiver, right?
Yeah,
He's one
top
of the
five.
top four, top five guys, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Um, he should have had that catch.
And like he knows that, but he's been soured on this team for a while now. I just don't think
Yeah,
that.
and I think that being soured kind of. Do you remember last week I was saying when you don't have faith in your quarterback, when you don't like your quarterback, when you're upset with him, when you're using Jalen Hurts as the example, sometimes you run your route a little slower, you don't
Yeah,
cut as hard, you don't go as hard, you don't as focused because you kind of just like this guy's gonna fucking blow it anyway, right? Why
yeah,
why do I care?
yeah. You get
And
more
you
upset with
don't
play
want
calls. All of it. All of it comes to a place where you're just
yeah,
like, you get a little bit, just like what's the word?
because he's a
Resentful.
hands guy.
A little bit
He's a hands
resentful.
guy.
Yeah, he wants the
He's a
ball.
hands guy.
So it's just, I
He
don't know,
makes big plays. He's a big play guy. Like that was something I would have expected him to catch.
1,000%.
He's a big play guy. And I
I just
think
don't
it's just
see
kind of his resentment or something in the back of his head that maybe the yips, whatever the equivalent is for a receiver, stopped him from catching that. Because that's not an easy ball. I'm not saying any receiver should have had it, but when you're top five guy like he is, he should have had it.
1,000%. And you, and in that moment too, you have to like this. We're come on, we're like you said, we're down to the four teams. You have to be making those plays, and that's why like Mike Evans wasn't making them in the first two quarters of the Lions game either, the Bucks Lions game. But I do think that this Buffalo team is going to take a step back next year because of Stephon Diggs not being with them, which sucks because like you just need, it's one of those things where maybe you just need another guy beside Diggs. You need Stephon Diggs, and like Mike Evans is a free agent. So maybe he goes to Buffalo, and then you have two guys, and that's what's missing. Now it's tough to have that argument because Kansas City doesn't seem to have any guys out there playing wide receiver, and they are constantly getting the job done. That being said, they only dropped one ball all game yesterday. Kansas City did. So,
No, but Travis Kelsey came back to his old self.
oh yeah, two touchdowns. Oh yeah,
Yeah. Rice has shown he's a guy on that team.
yep,
He's a name on that team.
yeah,
Um,
for
but
sure.
last thing about Buffalo, the new stadium, is it a dome? Is it an outdoor? Don't tell me the new stadium, the building is outdoor.
It's outdoor. Yeah,
It's outdoor. They're not building something with a roof.
no.
For a team that's still to this day haunted by missed kicks,
Well,
you've
you're not
got to
wrong.
try.
Great way to look at it because I think they want it
Why
to.
wouldn't you put something indoor so at least you don't lose a game yourself to a
Yeah.
missed kick due to weather?
I mean, at this point, absolutely.
The wide right from the Super Bowl, I don't think it was in Buffalo. I'm pretty sure it was somewhere else when the wind caught it and they missed. But
But they've
still,
missed a couple.
why would you want that to ever happen again?
You're not wrong. And like the whole reason they wanted to do an outdoor stadium is because they like having the benefit of the doubt or the
For
advantage.
sure. For sure.
But you're not wrong. Like it keeps
It
backfiring for
comes
them.
down to kicks. It comes down to kicks for them so much.
And it keeps backfiring for them. So you think that maybe get in a dome and then you don't have to do that. You don't have to let it go
Yeah.
to that. But I don't know. They like having the advantage over Miami
But
specifically.
no, I felt really bad. I really thought Josh Allen was gonna
I thought that kick was going to go in. I
finally
thought
get
we were
that
going to go to
monkey off his
overtime.
back, but
I for sure thought we were going to go to overtime. I thought that was going to be an easy
it should have
tap
gone
in
overtime.
kick.
The Buffalo should
Yeah.
have scored in the fourth. They should have scored a touchdown in the fourth.
Yeah. I really thought Buffalo was going to win that game. I really did. I wasn't afraid of the Chiefs at all, but hey, man, Michael Jordan's on that team. So you have to kind of now, do you think I think Baltimore beats Kansas City? I sure as hell hope Baltimore beats Kansas City. Um,
They are America's team.
no, I see. I think I see that in the notes. I think you're wrong about
Baltimore's
that.
probably the most rooted for team in the NFL right now.
I think you're wrong.
No, they're America's team. They
No,
are
no,
America's team. People
no.
want to see Taylor Swift not be at the Super Bowl.
I don't think that they are America's team. I think the Detroit Lions are more cheered for around the United States than Baltimore is.
But the only thing about them, the two teams are not how you say, like kind of mutually exclusive in winning. You can root for Detroit and Baltimore right now. Detroit is the working man's team. Baltimore is there just to knock off Taylor Swift. People don't want to see Taylor Swift at the Super Bowl.
You know who does want to see Taylor
They're
Swift at
done
the
with
Super
it.
Bowl?
They're done with it.
You know who does want to see her at the Super Bowl though is the NFL. The NFL
Oh,
absolutely wants
I
her
know.
sitting in a
I know.
suite at that Super Bowl,
I
without a
know.
doubt.
It's been the NFL versus the fans for years.
Yeah, and this is just another one of those things. Like they are going to do anything in their power to get Taylor Swift and the Chiefs into that Super Bowl for sure, without a
100%.
doubt. The ratings would be massive. It'd be the highest ratings they've ever had.
Who's the halftime show? Do we know?
It's Usher. Remember
Oh,
Usher?
I remember. I like Usher. He's on the playlist. But all the '90s stuff. I'm on the old Usher stuff.
Yeah, like it's just an odd choice
He's an Atlanta guy though.
yeah, it's an odd choice for a Super Bowl halftime show though, isn't it? Usher, when's the last time he's
Ah,
been relevant ever? Like yeah, do people who listen to Taylor Swift even know who Usher is?
yeah. Usually, you know what though? I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. Often when people do the Super Bowl show, halftime show, they're promoting something they got upcoming because they don't get paid for it, right?
Yeah,
So it's
they
a
don't get paid for
good
it.
PR move for them, right?
Yeah.
So he's probably got something in the works right now.
I'm assuming the new album or he's re-releasing his old stuff or something. But man, Ludacris better be out there with him. That's all I have to say about that. I don't mind Usher, but I want Ludacris.
You
I
got
want
a
Ludacris.
ludicrous Usher song?
Yeah, what's the yeah. Ah,
Oh yeah, yeah, Lil Jon. It's Lil Jon.
yeah, Lil
I
Jon.
know.
Yeah, I can't believe you
I
got
know
that
the one.
from my
Yeah, yeah,
horrible.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of specifically.
Okay. Yeah. Well, what do you want? Let's assume for a second that the Lions knock off the 49ers for the sake
Okay.
of this. Who do you rather than play in the Super Bowl?
I'm torn on this because we beat the Chiefs. I'm always one of those guys that is if you meet the the if you meet a team in the playoffs that you've played in the regular season, that it's usually the opposite. So if you win in the regular season, you lose the playoffs. If you lose in the regular season, you win the playoff game. So the Lions beat the Chiefs in the first game of the season.
Yeah.
So
I've got another stat for that too, though.
and so I'd be afraid that the Chiefs are going to win because the Lions won the regular season game. And the Ravens absolutely destroyed the Lions this season. So it's kind of one of those things like we could get our payback for that game in the Super Bowl. So, I mean, again, like the Chiefs are the weaker team, but they'd have something to prove specifically just about beating Detroit, like another wrinkle on top of obviously winning the Super Bowl, should be the only motivation that you need. It's just I always have fear about that regular season matchup that does the opposite in the playoffs. So maybe Baltimore is who I'd want, but we suck against running quarterbacks. Our defense is not good against running quarterbacks. What are your thoughts? You said you had something.
Yeah, well, not a lot of teams are good against Lamar Jackson when he's
Yeah,
playing like Lamar Jackson, as I kind of semi predicted he would this past week.
four
What I was going to say
touchdowns.
is you do have another X factor against Lions Chiefs Super Bowl.
What's is it?
There's
Eminem versus
another X
Taylor
factor
Swift?
Lions Chiefs Super Bowl.
What's that?
No, Jared Goff has never lost in a game to Patrick Mahomes.
Is that true? How many times has he played him?
That is true. He's beat him with the Rams twice, I think. He's 2-0. Beat him with the Rams, beat him with the Lions.
Oh, I like
So does
that.
that mean his streak continues, or does that mean it starts to get evened out a little bit?
It makes me less fearful of that reverse regular season curse thing. That's for sure because he's going in there
I
with a
think
3-0.
what you need to do is you need to see how many superstitions it takes to override other superstitions, right? You got to start stacking them against each other and see where you end up.
I agree. I wonder if someone's done that. Um let's talk about the Texans for a bit because they lost to the Ravens on Saturday. It was 17-10 with like 6 minutes left in the fourth. So it ended up being a blowout. Ravens really ran away with it in the last 6 minutes there, but they held on. Texans held on for a bit.
I Yeah, but it was 10-10. The one touchdown the Texans scored was an individual effort. I mean, there was blockers, but it was the return, right?
Yeah. I mean, here's the
Just
thing
to
about
be
the
frank,
Texans
the
is
Texans were outmatched.
oh, 100%. 100%. And Baltimore's team is better than the Texans team. The Texans won 3 games last year or 2 games last year. Um, so they had no business even being in the playoffs to then win a game and have another game in your second year, um, or sorry, your first year with a new head coach and a rookie quarterback. Like that team is going to look really good for the next 5 to 6 years at least, and that changes
That's
the
the thing.
entire
There's
look
nothing to
of
worry about.
yeah, that it changes the entire look of that AFC South. Like Trevor Lawrence is now going to have a harder time getting back to the playoffs. The Colts are going to have a harder time getting
CJ
back to the
Stroud
playoffs.
might, yeah, he might ruin CJ Stroud might ruin Trevor Lawrence's career a little bit,
Yeah.
where it's going to be harder and harder for him to get that division, and he might never live up to his potential just because of how good CJ Stroud has become.
CJ
It's
Stroud,
one season, so we can't get too carried away.
yeah,
But
because we've always said that like your first season, there's not tape on you. So people can't really like this offseason, all those teams in the South are going to be watching Houston's tape, wondering how to get an advantage on CJ Stroud. Like, what does he do wrong? Where's his like tell or his sign or his tick? Like what does he do that they haven't noticed yet that is going to be an advantage to their defense? So that is the one thing with rookie quarterbacks is that the second year there's usually a step back because people now have a full season's worth of tape on you and they're going to try to exploit it. So like that, but he's also going to come out probably at the beginning of the year next year and be a top 5 MVP betting favorite, CJ Stroud. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next year. But that whole division looks like it's on the up and up with Anthony Richardson being the rookie quarterback who had a shortened season this year in Indianapolis and going with like
well,
there's a lot of good
not the
quarterbacks.
Titans,
A lot not the Titans. But hey, so the Titans as of 37 minutes ago
not
have
the
hired a
Titans. The
new
Titans,
yeah, the
they don't
Titans.
have a coach.
Nope, they just hired a guy. Just hired fresh off the um stands, the newspaper stands, I guess was the quote the saying. Titans hire Bengals offensive coordinator Brian Callahan as the new head coach. That is as of Tom Pelissero from Twitter, now known as X, which I don't know how I feel about that. But yeah, so the Titans have a new head coach. So there's three new head coaches that we have this year. The Las Vegas Raiders have hired Antonio Pierce officially.
Great move. Great move.
Great move. That's the easy choice, right? Like that should have been like hands down.
He's to me, he's kind of this the Dan Campbell type. Everything you talked about Dan Campbell, he lives and breathes. He understands the culture. He understands the city. Well, not so much the city. He played in Oakland, whereas
Yeah.
they're in Las Vegas. But the fan base, he understands the fan base.
Yeah. The history
He,
of the Raiders.
yeah, but like the Oakland's like a core fan base. I'm pretty sure is kind of moved with Las Vegas, right? Like they're still supporting them. Not
Yeah.
that far to go.
Yeah. No, absolutely. The Raiders
Um,
fans are still Raiders fans. That's for sure.
yeah,
So
he's a
we
former player. He's everything they need.
Yeah, he exudes what Raider Nation is. So he's the head coach officially. Now we have Brian Callahan to the Titans, and obviously New England. Jared Mayo is the new head coach there. So there's still a Panther spot, Charger spot, Falcon spot, Commanders spot, all open. And we'll see what happens. Like I just want all these positions to be filled so that Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn can come back to Detroit and be the defensive coordinator and offensive coordinators for that team. Ben offensive and Glenn defensive. Because if we lose those guys, I'm very
How does that
fearful
work
of the
right
step
now?
back. So they aren't allowed to
How
interview
does
in
that work right
person
now?
until
And those
Monday
guys, no, no, no,
or
no,
till
no. Here's
today.
my question.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Like
so
if your team is still in the playoffs, today was the first day you were allowed to start interviewing in person.
right, so I don't like that because for the Lions coaching staff, they have other things to focus on rather than their
Thousand
future.
percent. One thousand
And you
percent.
put a tantalizing offer in front of them. Yeah, I'm not saying that's going to change anything for them, but it's a distraction they just don't need when especially if it's a time sensitive issue.
I 1,000% agree. I don't think you should be allowed to hire. I don't think any team should be allowed to hire any coaches until after the season is. I don't think you should be allowed to fire your coach until the end, like the day after the Super Bowl, whether or not you're in the playoffs or not. Just because this is like it does give an advantage to teams to go out and hire somebody, and a disadvantage obviously for the Lions teams because now their coaches are going to be concentrating on this Sunday, but also flying to Los Angeles or flying to Atlanta for head coaching interviews. So I don't like it, but I also understand why it's happening. I just think if you're not allowed to fire your coach until after the Super Bowl, no matter what you finished in the regular season, that would stop all this from happening.
Absolutely.
So I think that kind of
Absolutely.
needs to be a rule. Also, there is a rule change. Let's talk about this. It happened in the Buffalo um, Kansas City game where they knocked out the football as the Chiefs were going into the end zone, but it was fumbled before the end zone line, the touchdown line, and then it got fumbled into the defense, like into the end zone. So therefore, the defense gets the ball back. They are talking about changing that rule for next year. I don't have a problem with this rule. I think that if you are able to knock the ball out of somebody who's reaching to get it in the end zone and it goes into your end zone, you get the ball back. I think that's a good thing. I don't know why you would change that rule. I think it's a good defensive play. Be smart about it. You know the play I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, it's the one that kind of the miracle play, which gave Buffalo a chance to actually get back and win. But
That's right. That is right.
somehow
Yeah.
there nobody had a game winning drive this this round of the
This
playoffs.
weekend.
You
Yeah.
notice
There was
that
no
nobody came back.
yeah, no defining last fourth quarter comeback win drive in this. And
No,
but like
two interceptions. Lamar Jackson had already run in 4 touchdowns or threw two run into that he was well beyond the Texans catching up to them,
yeah.
and then yeah, the Bills just came up short.
Yeah, Lamar was on fire. But what do you think about that rule? Like
I
it
kind
obviously
of
got the Bills.
understand. I understand because like you haven't really turned the ball over.
Right,
You know what
but
I mean? If it goes out in front of the pylon, the offensive team keeps possession.
they
If
keep
it
the ball,
goes
yeah.
out on the other side of the pylon, the defensive team gets it.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's a touchback.
yeah. But I'm saying I understand it both ways. I get it.
So,
I don't think it really. I don't know if it's really going to make a difference in the grand scheme of things because it's just one of those things that kind of evens out over time where you'll win you'll maintain possession one time in your career with this rule, you'll lose possession one time in your career for this rule, right? It's not
I
going to be
agree.
a regular every game situation. It's
I
going to happen so seldomly that I don't think that either option is going to really sway too many games in the long run.
So I don't think they should change the rule. I think they should keep it the same way it is. And based off your point, where it's not going to be one of those things where this happens all the time, it's problematic. But what will happen if they do change it is you're going to get the offensive team have less ball security within the 3 yards. Like they will try to one-handed reach out every single time because if they fumble, there's not that much of a penalty behind it. Like it's not, there's no downfall to reaching out and having the ball less secure because if it goes out of bounds, you get the ball back anyways. So that's my fear if they do change it, is that there's going to be just more sloppy play at the um at
Yeah,
in
but
that
you
part of
kind
the
of
field.
you swayed me now. I want to see that because that's just then that ball's loose. It's not always in the corners where it's going to go out of bounds. A lot of times it's in the middle where
Right,
somebody might pounce on it.
but if it's in
I
the
love
middle,
that like potential like change
but
of
it won't happen
who's going
because
to
if it's
get
in the
it.
middle, no, but you're wrong though, because if it's in the middle, it's not going to go out of bounds. So that play's not going to be any that play's not going to change. It's only on the sidelines where that's going to happen, right? Because you fumble the ball in the
Yeah.
middle of the field, it's not going to go out of bounds, and
No, I know
this
what
is
you're
going to
saying.
be a thing.
I see your point, and it's one of those I'd have to see play out over the long run. But I kind of like the excitement of what could happen when the guys are reaching out. I like going for it. I like going for it on fourth down. I like taking that chance. Right, that makes more exciting plays. The guy reaching out to get the touchdown with the potential, like you get the points or you might fumble it and lose. It adds more excitement.
But you're not going to lose. That's the thing. You're not. If you fumble it, you just get the ball back at the 1 yard line with a new rule. This rule is the ultimate. You reach, you either score a
That's what I'm saying.
touchdown or you fumble and it goes out of bounds.
You convinced me that way that
That to not change it.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think you should change it either because it's ultimate decision. It's either hero or it's your fault we lost.
Actually, no. Sorry, I'm confused myself. I want the guys reaching out for it.
You do want them reaching out for it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But there's no penalty if they don't get it. So the reaching
Oh,
out
you're
is
right. Okay, no, no, yeah, I've confused myself.
yeah, you're double confused now.
Ah, yeah, it's
I
yeah,
like the
there's no
fact that
risk for him.
you
There's no
still
risk
will
for
get
him.
guys risking it and reaching out, and they'll fumble it out of bounds, and then the defense
Yeah,
gets the
no, I
ball, and it's a
think
huge
I
momentum
think
swing,
leave
which is
it.
fine.
I don't think it's broken. I don't
I
think
don't
it's
think it's broken
broken.
either. I think it's perfect. I
Yeah,
think that like they should absolutely. I don't
yeah.
even think it should be talked about. But it is. So we had to talk about it. What else we got left about this weekend that we could talk about?
There was a good joke I saw, and it's kind of a little bit, I don't know, maybe insensitive, but the Damar Hamlin fake punt. Were
Yeah,
they
I
just
know where you're going with
hoping?
this.
Were they just hoping that he got them the fourth down just to kind of add to his story, like kind of a little,
I don't know
I
what
don't know
that
what
was.
the
I don't
word
know
is,
what that
what
play.
the tribute to him, or just kind of give him a chance to become a fan favorite again.
I mean, I
Because the
don't.
storyline, if he got it, would be great.
Yeah, it'd be great. I don't know what they're thinking though. Like
But
that
I
seems
mean, you're also giving it to a guy who's not playing that often. I don't know. Was he their best option for that?
that's my problem with it is I don't know if he is the best option. I think out of all the running backs and skill players that you have, why you would put the ball in the hands of one of your average at best defensive players who doesn't play a lot is a very strange decision to me. So I don't know why they did it. I think maybe, hey, listen, if the NFL is rigged, then this makes sense. Yeah, they want DeMar Hamlin to get that play because if he does do well, then that's very easily, oh my goodness, look at this story. It's so much better now. But he didn't get it. He was nowhere even close. It was a horrible play call. Horrible play
Yeah,
call.
and that was an odd one.
Yeah,
I think it was odd to a lot of people.
it was
People.
very
So the
strange.
joke I saw was that what's the coach's name? Buffalo. I'm blanking on his name. I'm looking at his. I can picture his face, but
Um, I don't know his name either anymore.
oh
Because we're talking about it, I can't remember it.
yeah. Um.
But anyways, go.
Anyway, they said, "What did you think? This is a Disney movie?"
Well, that's what I saw a meme on this as well, and it was, whenever you go to like a charity game and you have like these adults playing flag football, and then they bring out like a 5-year-old kid and they just give him the ball, and everybody's just like aware that this kid is gonna run for a touchdown, so they don't really go after him. Like that's the meme I thought was like, did the Bills think because DeMar Hamlin got the ball that can
McDermott. That's what it is.
McDermott, yeah.
McDermott.
Did they think that
Yeah.
Kansas City would just be like, oh, it's DeMar Hamlin, so we kind of have to let him get the first down here? Like kind of one of those storyline things. Like it was, I don't know what that play was, but yeah, uh, and it
Nothing
was.
against Damar Hamlin. Just I don't think he's your best option for converting on that one.
I
That's it.
completely agree. Also, nothing against DeMar Hamlin. I just don't know why you have so
He
many
doesn't play
good
that
players.
position. That's not.
Exactly.
Is that something they practice often?
I they must have practiced it at least once, right?
I don't know.
I got nothing left from
Um,
this weekend though. What else you got?
I don't
Um,
know. I put a
I know we went.
thousand word paper worth of an essay into these notes here. What do we got?
I'm
Jordan
looking at.
Love. Do we
Oh,
mention him? We didn't talk about that game much.
we didn't talk about that game much. Packers hung around. The Packers should have won this game. Honestly, they're probably the better team for
They.
most of it.
How do you think, Jordan? Did you watch the game?
I saw the highlights and I saw bits and pieces here and there. Luckily on
I
set,
thought
somebody
Jordan
brought
Love
like,
was good. I thought he kind of died out in the fourth.
well, that was it.
I
Is that
don't.
he very much was good for 3 quarters, and in the fourth quarter, he kind of showed signs of rookie mistakes. Like that
Yeah,
last
like I mean,
interception was bad.
the last interception, I think that was just kind of a cumulative fourth quarter frustration of just nothing was really working out for him as well in the fourth. And he just, you watch the highlight, he knew it. Everybody knew it.
Yeah.
It was a terrible throw into triple coverage. It was the
Cross your
most
body
hope and a
across the
prayer.
field. It was a
Yeah,
Brett Favre throw.
it was bad, but everything leading up to that, it kind of slowly was working out for him less and less, and as the game went on, and I think that was just the cumulative frustration to just make that throw. And but having said all that, I think they are in a great position with that team. What was it? One of the youngest teams in the league,
It is the youngest
average
team.
age.
Mostly, pretty much everyone on that team is like under 27, 26 years old.
Yeah. So that's terrible for the Lions right now.
Oh yeah. Oh,
But I
I'm
think Jordan
terrified.
Love,
I actually am
yeah, I
terrified
think,
of the Green Bay Packers future. It's not
yeah,
like
I think
that's why I'm
he's
so
looking like he
worried.
could potentially.
Yeah, that's why I'm very worried that the Lions lose their offensive coordinator to a head coaching spot, their defensive coordinator to a head coaching spot, and then they have this Packers team rebuild within 2 years, and all of a sudden now we're fiercely competing for a wild card spot and the division. I mean, which is what you do anyways, but um, to have that fight in the division be close all the time is
It took the
man
Lions 38, 5 years, 30 years to rebuild,
yeah
25 years to rebuild.
longer than that, 60 years to rebuild. But one playoff win in 66 years.
You
Now we
don't
have
you don't
two.
have another you don't have another 30 years
No, I don't
left
have
to
another
rebuild.
30 years. This is our team right now. This is the best team I'll probably have in my entire life as a Lions fan. And that's talking about past and future. I mean, I have to think that way. I don't know why I would
Yeah.
think any other way. This is what it is. So I'm like, so my mindset's changed over the last day. Last week, this coming into the Bucks game, I was like, we're playing with house money. We've got our one playoff win. I'm happy. I could this is a successful season for me. I'm okay if we lose the Bucks. So again, house money, everything's fine. Now I'm like, we have to fucking win. We have to beat the 49ers. We have to think that we're better than the 49ers. This is our team. We're going to the Super Bowl. Like we have to think this way. That's what I want now. It's no longer house money. I want to win this game. It's not one of those like sit down, enjoy the game, whatever. It's been a good season for us. Is no, now we need to win this game. This season comes down to this game now.
Yeah. The NFL is not very forgiving for that. A lot of I think
Look at the
is it
Bengals.
the least likelihood that you'll ever return to the big
Yeah,
dance as they call it
yeah.
of any sports league.
Like
Guys
what's
have the
the
shortest careers
yeah. It's the
and
Super
it's
Bowl
hard to
curse
get
too,
back.
right? Like if you go to the Super Bowl and you lose, you never go back.
Yeah,
Like that's your one
very few.
chance. So
Yeah.
um yeah, no, let's talk about these games coming up this weekend. Like so Detroit, San Francisco in San Francisco, 49ers favored to win by 6.5. The 49ers have the best team in football. Um, I don't think that's questioned much. I think Baltimore has the best team in football. The 49ers offense has the best weapons minus their quarterback, which is what I'm going to tell myself all week going into this weekend. 49ers, what do you think each team has to do to win this game or lose this game?
Detroit's defense has to get into Brock Purdy's head. That's
They
the
got to hit him.
biggest thing.
Like they have to hit him
If they
after
can
every
start
throw.
just really rely, yeah, they got to make them rely only on McCaffrey. Now, McCaffrey, shutting down McCaffrey is its own thing, right?
Yeah. I'm
That's
okay if
like, it
McCaffrey
reminds
gets like
me that
140 yards and one touchdown. If he scores, if
he's,
he can run and just not get into the end zone, that's a win for us. Obviously,
yeah,
like
I mean, you got to expect him to do some damage.
yeah, exactly. Let him have his yards.
So,
Not let him, but like he's going to get them. Like don't get frustrated if he is
yeah,
their best player on offense, but make sure that no one else can do anything. But as long as
exactly.
they hit Detroit blitzes from their corners position better than anybody in the NFL right now. And if they just after every single time Brock Purdy throws a football, hit him in the shoulder, hit him in the gut, hit him like make sure that
So
he is aware that you are there.
there's one thing that might work well in Detroit's favor is there's a lot of times they almost sack the shit out of Baker Mayfield. But Baker Mayfield's a little better at staying on his feet than Brock Purdy is. He
Exactly.
managed to slip away, get the ball out. Brock
Exactly.
Purdy won't be as good as Baker Mayfield for that. So that might work in their favor that if they can keep that up, there might be a few more sacks, a lot more tackles for losses coming up in the game.
Agreed. He gets the
For San Francisco, go ahead.
no. I'll just say that Brock Purdy gets the ball out faster than Baker Mayfield does. But if we can just hold on to the, not hold on because that's a penalty, but if we can protect a little bit longer, an extra 2 or 3 seconds, um, then let Aiden Hutchinson or somebody get to Brock Purdy. That is going to be the key to our defense, in that game. But you were going to say something about the 49ers.
Well, obviously another thing for Detroit is not only rely on St. Brown as a receiver. It was nice seeing
Josh Reynolds.
was it Reynolds? Reynolds stepped
Yeah.
up. Yeah, Reynolds stepped up nicely last game. So
Yeah,
you
he got
need other
hurt.
guys,
A little bit
Williams,
worried.
Reynolds, somebody.
Yeah, you need Jamison Williams to step up
What was
big
the
this
other?
game. I
Raymond.
agree. I agree.
At this point in the playoffs, this deep, all your receivers need to be capable of stepping up when needed.
Yeah, I
Right?
think that Detroit's offense needs to run the ball up the middle with David Montgomery every single play in the first quarter and just get that going, and just start wearing down the San Francisco's defense. Again, I think that the Buccaneers defense matched up better against Detroit than the San Francisco defense does. So, I don't know, man. I'm going in with high hopes for this game. I am. I very much am.
Yeah, I think
Very
this
much
is
am.
going to be the fewest mistakes that they can make all
Yeah, it's
season.
got to be a perfect game. It does. It has to be a perfect game. Kansas City, Baltimore. It's in Baltimore. Ravens are favored to win by 3.5. Um, Same question. Like, what does Baltimore have to do to win this game? What does Kansas City have to do to win this game?
I think Baltimore needs to play very similarly to the last game. I don't think Kansas City's defense, I think, will be a little bit better at stopping Lamar Jackson, but he's
Okay, you cut out there. I don't know if you know that. What I could hear what you were saying. But for everyone listening, Puya was saying, uh, finally we have a healthy Lamar Jackson. Finally, we can see what this Baltimore team does in the playoffs with the healthy Lamar Jackson, and that he is in prime MVP mode right now. Like he's just, it seems like he's unstoppable. And I agree that like if Lamar Jackson can have the same game he had against that Texans team, then it's going to be very hard to beat Baltimore. I think Kansas City's key to winning this game is not so much stopping Lamar Jackson. Like, obviously, they're going to have to do that, but they're going to have to keep up offensively with this Baltimore team. And that means that Travis Kelsey and Patrick Mahomes both have to do exactly what they did kind of to the Buffalo Bills. And like Kelsey needs 2 touchdowns, maybe 3 touchdowns to stay in contention with this Baltimore team. And I think that is how Kansas City has a chance of winning this game. Because again, I mean, they
well.
have.
The other thing for Kansas City is a few of the games throughout the season. I'm going to remember they had receiver blunders which cost them the game. Not
Yes,
just Mahomes didn't do well enough. If you can't make a play, don't lose it for your team. That's the other thing that has to be a key for Kansas City, right? Like you can't have
absolutely.
another Kadarius Tony just hand the game to the other team.
Absolutely. And that's why I like, uh, you can't count Kansas City out because they have Kelsey and Mahomes. But I mean, I think you nailed it though. It's like if Lamar Jackson plays the way that he's played all year, tough to one, root against him, and then tough to bet against him.
I haven't seen an AFC team come close to crushing them this year
No,
in
like
a game that mattered.
I very much want Baltimore to go to the Super Bowl for sure. I think we've been saying that for a while now in this program, that we're both huge Lamar Jackson fans. And like, I think he's still chronically underrated all the time. And I don't know why people cast shade on Lamar Jackson. Like, he is one of one player in the NFL. And that is because he's also super exciting to watch.
I think the shade comes from his style of play is unique. It's not the traditional quarterback style. So you're always going to criticize, well, the legends of quarterbacks who have won multiple Super Bowls did not play the way he played. So
Yeah,
until his style of play is proven to win, they're always going to criticize him. It's like, oh, it's all flash. It's good for the regular season. Yeah, you'll win an MVP, but football's a team game. You need to use your receivers. You need to use your offensive line. You need to use everybody and win. And this is his chance. Like if the Detroit Lions don't win, to be honest with you, I don't mind seeing Baltimore win, but I also don't mind seeing. I like Christian McCaffrey. I don't mind seeing a lot of these guys on San Francisco win if Detroit can't win the Super Bowl.
I
I
won't
think I
go
like
that far.
more in. I like few individual players on San Francisco more than I like individual players on Baltimore. I just like Lamar Jackson just because he's one of when he's at his best. He's one of the most exciting players in the NFL to watch.
Yeah, I think we can
Who
both
else on
agree that
Baltimore you want to see win?
just Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, that's it. He's the only guy. Me too.
Yeah, just Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Um, but I think we both agree that the last thing anybody wants is Kansas City to win the Super Bowl.
I've never been on that bandwagon.
I think everybody in the world can agree on that, except for Taylor Swift fans.
I don't think I've cheered for them in any of their Super
I
Bowls
didn't mind.
games.
I did not mind the Chiefs until this year. And this whole Taylor Swift. Like, I don't like Brittany Mahomes. I don't like Jackson Mahomes. Um, and it made me but it didn't adjust my thoughts on Patrick Mahomes. But now that Taylor Swift's involved with it and they're hanging out with like it's just the people getting rewarded for shit they didn't do. And that's the frustrating thing with the people surrounding. But Patrick Mahomes has earned everything that he has. But the people that are in his circle that are just throwing champagne on people and getting to hang out with Taylor Swift haven't done anything. And that frustrates me. And that makes me not want Kansas City to win at all. Plus, they've done it twice already. So I don't need a third Kansas City Super
No,
Bowl.
I'll say this. Patrick Mahomes, I see why he's the golden boy of the NFL. He says the right things. He does the right things. He never throws anybody in the bus. He's a good leader. He's an amazing player. He's their
Yeah.
best talent in the NFL. There's for him individually, there's no criticism. There's nothing you can criticize him
Oh,
except that you hate people hate his wife, people hate his family, people hate,
yeah.
like they don't like the people around him. But for him, there's nothing you can criticize him for.
No, he's
He's
perfect
done nothing
quarterback.
wrong.
It's a perfect
He's
quarterback.
on and off the field.
Yeah,
There's nothing you can criticize the guy for.
I agree. I just don't want the Chiefs to win another Super Bowl. Spite.
That's
Um,
that's that's our main motivation is you and I is spite.
spite. All right. Well,
Some days it's the only reason why I get out of bed in the morning.
okay. I think that's all we have to say on this program. Your last program in Brazil until you're back home.
Yeah. Unless you want to record one during the game this weekend or right after the game together.
No, no, I'm gonna enjoy
I'll never let that die.
I know you won't, but I'm gonna enjoy
No.
my Sunday, whether it's
Yeah.
the last or the second last Detroit Lions game of the season. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm gonna make myself a Detroit style pizza, and just sit in darkness. And
Now, do you put that in your pizza oven
yeah,
or do you put that in the regular oven?
so a lot of people put it in the regular oven, but you can put it in the pizza oven. I'm gonna put it in the pizza oven. That's why I got the pizza
It's not
oven.
going to
But
burn the top.
no, I don't think so. We'll find out. I've never done it before.
I
It could
think you
very well
burn the
burn the
top.
top. It very
I
well
think
could
you
burn the
burn the
top.
top
Well, maybe I'll
because I
make
don't think the
two.
pan gets hot enough.
It should. You have to let the whole oven heat for 30 minutes so that the
The stone at the bottom.
stone at the bottom gets to temperature. That's the
Yeah, but I feel
key
like just
to pizza.
the cheese at the top will just because it's also sitting higher up. The other one sits lower down from the flames. You're going to be what
Yeah,
two
well
and a half inches,
you cook it at a lower temperature though. You don't go all out. Usually I cook it at the highest temperature, like the regular pizza, but this one
30
I'm gonna
seconds.
cook it the lowest.
Right.
But it'll be the
Well,
first time. It could be a fucking disaster. I don't know. But
I'll
I'm gonna
come by
try.
for a slice.
But I'm gonna try. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. Puya, have safe travels back to Vancouver. And we'll see you when you're here.
Okay. Thank you. Good night.
Running Down the Clock is brought to you by the Ordinary Podcast Network and is every Thursday running until the week after the Super Bowl. We hope you enjoyed enough to subscribe and tune in again next week.